Hello and welcome to a TwoSun knife. And I probably could do this as a TwoSun Tuesday, but I wanted to do something just a little bit different with this one in particular. By the way, it's the day before Thanksgiving, so I got orange and brown fingernails to celebrate the holiday. Don't let that distract you. Either way, this is the TS142. I don't know if Mazwan Mokhtar has officially given this one a name thus far, but it's a pretty fantastic knife. Um, to go ahead and get a little bit of the elephant out of the room here up top, yeah, it does have their pivot collar with where it's made. That doesn't bother me one bit. I've already kind of stated that with some other knives, but it's apparently fairly divisive, and a lot of people just don't like the fact that it says it's made in Yangjing, China on it. I don't think they'd really have a problem with the TwoSun logo. I think it's just mostly that. Yeah. So if you don't like it, I'll pass it by. It's you're just gonna miss out on a nice knife. But yes, this is kind of a culmination of a lot, and that's kind of what I'm going to end up doing here. This is an M390 blade, fairly reasonable size. Yeah, I don't have my ruler here or anything like that, but we got I don't know. It's like a little over 3 inches or so for cutting length here. We have titanium unibody, also known as integral. And we have carbon fiber for some bolster kind of things. We, of course, have the titanium, and then we have micarta. This is their newer micarta, so it's a canvas type, which is nice. What I will say is maybe the fit and finish isn't exactly the absolute best on the micarta, at least out of the box here. This side, the clip side, seems to be pretty nice and flush, but at least on my particular model, up top here, there's a lot of space between that micarta and the titanium, which I don't think is purposeful. So I will say that in particular. But yeah, we do have a center groove that kind of flares out as we go back here, and that also incorporates with the carbon fiber and the micarta on both sides here. The pocket clip, that's going to be a pretty close to a ballpoint sort of thing. It's kind of Mazwan's thing. As such, yes, this one is just as difficult as many of his other designs to actually get into the pocket. Getting it out's fine, but you might accidentally drop trowel if you're not careful or have a tight enough belt when you're actually trying to shove this thing in there. So, keep that in mind. But, okay, so wanted to go ahead and pull out some other knives that kind of show his evolution kind of coming up to this. And the first one that I can think of, probably because of the material choice kind of things here, is this guy. This is the TS301. This is the lockdown. This is one of the original runs in 14C28N. Almost all of them are D2 now. Surprised they actually haven't done an M390 run on this yet, because it really does seem to be a popular knife. But yeah, we have micarta. This was one of the first knives that they used the newer canvas style micarta on. I've dyed mine a bit purple. I've also done a stonewash on the blade. Yeah, I've modified this one a bit. But hey, so we have the carbon fiber bolster with a little bit of the rounding there, and the micarta going on the back. You can kind of see a bit of the similarities there. The blade profile is about the same, but of course this is much more of a clip point here with a bit more of a leading edge. So there is that. Let's see. I also have another folding knife. This one is very much numbered and released right around the same time. This is the TS300 Pandemic. This was a gigantic Tonto that we got here with a nice hollow grind, and then flat for the guy right there. And yeah, I'm basically pulling this out for the inclusion of that thumb hole for an opener rather than using a flipper tab or something like that, which you can see was transferred over here. This one's just a little bit wider than this, but still works in a very, very similar fashion. So, I guess I can put all those over there. And this one, just wanted to pull out because this is the TS195 Silverback. This is also another titanium integral. Yes, this isn't the only titanium integral that Mazwan has done. He's also done the bowhead and maybe another one, but I don't have those. They're quite rare and hard to get a hold of because people like them and hold on to them. So there's that. But we have basically right around the same kind of size, same kind of choil thing there. But of course, this doesn't have the flipper tab on it, so that was, changes things up a little bit. And one that some people might not expect because they don't pay attention to all of them. This is the Mazwan Mokhtar Puffer, also known as the TS265. This is a fixed blade, of course, but blade, yeah, that's very, very, very much kind of the same sort of thing going on here. Much less of a sharpening choil. There's just an itty bitty little touch of one there. But that is after the plunge grind, so hey, that's kind of nice. But still, this has a lot of the same kind of cutting characteristics and things of that nature. Both of them are fairly thick. I do think it's about 4 millimeters in blade stock thickness, which I think might be just a little bit too much. But it does have a pretty substantial reduction in thickness from basically the high saber grind on down here. So it comes down to a super, super thin edge, which is great. And at least on this particular specimen that I have in front of me, I really do like the M390 on this one. It took a ridiculously screaming sharp edge, which is great. It did take me a bit to actually get that reprofiled and all that sort of stuff, but there you go. But yes, very, very similar to the puffer here. So, you know, if you like that blade shape or whatever, but really didn't like something in particular with it, whether it be a fixed blade, whether it's using their, I still want to call this burlap micarta, but they're meh-carta, as I've called it for quite some time, then this is definitely a little bit more up your alley, but a lot more expensive. Obviously, this is an M390 blade with a titanium integral handle with a lot of millwork and inlays and all that sort of stuff. One thing that I can say, at least as far as the Silverback, is I haven't really seen any of these that have really, really superior action. You know, they're nice and smooth, but even though they are riding on bearings, much more, it really does feel like this is riding on washers. It doesn't have much of a free-floating feeling. But that's true of course, the one that I have here, but many, many others. I've seen others do reviews on them since this is fairly new to my collection and it's nowhere near a new knife. But this one really does have the action on lock. This thing is really, really well tuned. I will say, if you kind of look down in here with a whole bunch of light, I have changed out the bearings on here. This one in particular, I put some skiff bearings in there. The good old 1/4 inch pivot with 13 bearings on there works super great with a lot of TwoSun knives. And yeah, I kind of threw that in there. They do help a little bit with side to side play. You can get your pivot just a little bit tighter with those, since they have you know, a more condensed amount of bearings in a row, so it gives you a little bit more stability there, and that helps. This thing does look a little strange, where you can see we have a little bit more space here than that side when the knife is, you know, open or whatnot. A little bit more difficult to see when it's closed, but yeah, there is still that a little bit more of a gap on that side. And that's just basically due to the construction. It's still essentially centered. Mine's probably, it's about right. But yeah, that's due to the construction on how a lot of integrals are done, especially like this type that has the bolster. Basically, the bolster comes out, and then you have all the guts that are attached to the pivot that's also attached to the other bolster. And then there's of course a pin going through there. On this one, it's stopped on both sides by the carbon fiber. It doesn't really have titanium on the inside lining where that pin is. That's something that I kind of wish would be there, but overall, it's really not, a make or break situation. It's still plenty strong. You're not going to really run into any problems there. Let's see. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to go over. Just this thing is kind of an amalgamation of quite a few different knife designs that you kind of put in together into a greatest hits or something like that, if you will. If at some point we can actually talk him into making clips that actually attach much easier to normal everyday pants, that would be fantastic across the board. Because yeah, we will see that that has been the case for quite a while. Of course, those are in the 300 range, but this is a much older design that still has that kind of ballpoint there. And this is very close to it. It has a little bit more of a flat, but it's still very, very stiff because the clip is very short. And it could use just a little bit more of a ramp. But there you go. This thing is quite a treat to use. I do kind of wish that there was some jimping up top here. That might just be for me. And this finger choil, while a lot of people can comfortably use it that way, I think it's fine. But for me, usually when a choil is built like this hump right here where your index finger is supposed to be in front of, usually just ends up directly in the middle of my middle finger. You can see all sorts of smushy stuff out there. So generally that whole choking up thing doesn't really work for me, but in this particular case works fantastic for a sharpening choil, and for those who actually do like to choke up or something like that a little bit more. Yep. The blade geometry on that, super great, like I said. I still kind of wish it was a little bit thinner than 4 millimeters. If they did something like, I don't know, 3.6 or maybe even a little less like they did on the silverback here, that would be fantastic too. But, either way, with it being a high saber grind for the most part, then it really wouldn't make a huge difference either way. But I really do think this is a fantastic knife. I would like a kind of a larger version of it. Maybe not necessarily make the blade taller, but I do like a little bit longer knife. But either way, I can comfortably get all 4 fingers wrapped around this little dude, and the pocket clip doesn't feel incredibly offensive in my hand. You can still feel it like you can with especially deep carry clips, but depending on the models, titanium clips can be felt a little bit more as well. But this one does a pretty good job of mitigating most of that due to how short it is and all that. So I don't really have too many complaints there with it. Really do enjoy it. It is interesting, and it a little bit on this, but it's even more exaggerated, just how much the pivot is shifted down from the center. And they kind of did that because this has a tall blade, and they wanted to actually stuff it in there. And it is nice having that full integrated back spacer there, even though the blade is not really get-toable, even if these weren't in the way. Still nice that it's actually there for you. But What else could I say about this thing here? We don't, however, there we go, lock bar access. We do have the scallops for it on either side, but we don't have any extra lock bar relief or something like that. So it's a little bit more like this 301, 301 lockdown, where we don't have the lock bar being proud, something like this 300 does a little bit. You can see the lock bar. You can see a bit of it sticking out from that side, so it makes it just a little bit easier to close. Yeah, I really do enjoy this thing. Obviously, it doesn't have milling on the inside. It is an integral. I don't know how they would get something in there and then have a burr be able to mill on the inside. So there's that. But these do have, of course, the insets here. And unlike that purple um, integral that I'd taken a look at just a little while back, this one, the micarta, doesn't have holes through it or anything like that. So these are properly inlays, and it's solid basically on the inside. Makes this thing really, really sturdy. But you still do have to take into account that a lot of the pressure bearing is also happening on the carbon fiber up here. It is going through a bit of titanium, but for the most part, a lot of the weight is on the carbon fiber. So it's maybe not absolutely bomb proof. It might be a little less strong overall than something like the silverback here that just has a smaller version of this in the pivot there, but basically attaches to the titanium on both sides. But regardless, it's it's fantastic design if that's something that you particularly like. And because the pivot is shifted way down there to help with that tall blade, you do have a little bit more knuckle clearance. Obviously, you can see my blade isn't fully making it down there, but I have some relatively large knuckles as well. But it's much easier if you're going to do that pinch grip like a chef's knife or something like that for cutting into it. Super nice. I do like it. It's not going to be cheap. I think it goes for about $250, at least at the time here when the first batch was gone through and stuff like that. And of course, when it's available, you can get it at White Mountain Knives, and they have all those different coupon codes for 10% off, which doesn't sound all that much, but hey, in this particular case, that's $25 off. Really not a bad deal. So, I would definitely go that way. And that's where I got this one from. I did get it from White Mountain Knives. I saw it listed a couple of days earlier on Amazon, which usually tempts me into ordering it. But since this one was much more expensive, I wanted to wait. And then, poof, it showed up on White Mountain Knives like 2 days later. So, I'm glad to see that actually happened. Usually, White Mountain Knives gets them around the same time in which the first wave from the Amazon deliveries are making it to people as well. So they're probably all going out around the same time, whereas that wasn't the case this time around. All right, well, I'm rambling quite a bit. I don't necessarily think there's anything else. I can take this apart, but this video is getting just a little tiny bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and do that in another separate little thing. I can have it show up here just a little bit later in the day for those of you who actually do care about that. So until that happens, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe.